IG Live with Micheal Beckwith. We're going to be here today acknowledging and speaking with a very beautiful young man. And I do emphasize young because his vital energy is extremely strong. And I'm talking about Dr. B. Sirius. I'm going to call him onto the screen in just a moment. And he's a leading mind, body, and spirit medicine man. Certified doctor of metaphysics, master herbalist, natural remedy formulator, a wellness educator, and a vibrational healing music pioneer with clients spanning across 6 continents who trust him with their physical, emotional, mental, and holistic well-being. He was born into a long line of healers, counselors, and teachers with roots in ancient America, Africa, and India. Dr. B. Sirius continues his long family tradition as a master herbalist entrenched in natural healing and higher consciousness. He chooses powerful botanicals that have been grown in nutrient-dense lands. Dr. B's unique proprietary system infuses, check this out, infuses vibrational energy such as light and sound waves, along with programmed water to create essential remedies for the healing of the nations. He says that by addressing the root cause of our imbalances and deficiencies, we create a way of living that promotes not only physical health, but births an energetic shift to help optimize our true potential as vibrational beings on the planet. Let me call him on here. And so he will pop up in a moment, and we'll be dialoguing about his sacred yes. Dr. B.
Yes, 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 yes.
My brother.
How are you?
I'm outstanding. I just let everybody know your resume, so to speak.
Oh wow, wow,
in
wow.
terms of the roots of coming from a long line of healers, the botanicals that you create, formulated with energy and special water and sound and light, and just your whole walk. And I wanted to show people, this particular one that I take. This is one of the things that I take from Dr. B. This one is the Platinum Life, which is the monatomic elixir for anti-aging, energy, energizes our telomeres for longevity, and eliminates the kind of a heavy detox frequency as well. But I wanted you on here for 2 reasons, and probably more as we get to dialogue. One, because I basically just want the world to know about you. You've been a great, almost a secret magic man within the community here in Los Angeles and now in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I'm always shouting your praises to people. I'm sending some more people your way shortly. I'll tell you who they are. Because you not only are a good formulator of these wonderful herbal elixirs, but you also have a strong consciousness in metaphysics. And so your blending of the awareness of the subconscious mind and how that's programmed or misprogrammed, along with your natural healing remedies, goes a long way towards people building up their immunity and also strengthening their inner resolve. So I'm welcoming you here today. We're having people on, healers, artists, creators, to speak about their sacred yes and what pulled them into being who they are today, as well as any tidbits that will be offered as we speak. So Dr. B, how are you, man?
I'm doing phenomenally well, man. And I just wanted to say thank you. And
so let me just say this to you. It's very clear. I mean, I know you, okay? So it's very clear to me that you have embraced your sacred yes of moving into the dynamic being that you are. And you've assisted so many people. Obviously, I've mentioned this particular formula in which you concocted for Dick Gregory. You and Dick Gregory worked on this. And so you've helped a lot of people on the planet. You've worked with a lot of people. But how would you define your yes in terms of when you wake up in the morning and a new day is dawning for you? How do you define your yes going forward in terms of your area of service?
Well, I look at it at a couple different levels. First, I have my what. What is my goal in life? So it's like if you're the captain of the ship, you know, you need a destination. You just can't float with the current. If you have a destination, you're going to move towards that. Then for me, my why is the fuel. The why. Why am I moving towards this particular destination? And when your why pops up, that's when the yes has to come. We have to give ourselves permission each morning to be at our highest vibration. See, a lot of us are waiting for someone else to give us permission, to tell us who we are. And, you know, we're looking for accountability from others, and we're looking for stories from others. And, you know, that is not your why all the time. Your why is why you come here. Why are you, you know, put on the planet at this particular time? And then say yes to the natural energy that resides in you, that's unique to everybody. Nobody else has this. It's unique to you, you know. And so for me, each day saying yes to that, giving myself permission to do my very best, you know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
You know, and to use the 4 agreements, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what's important for me. That's my yes.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying. I love the fact that you're people that, and it's something that I teach a lot as well. You have to give yourself permission. You can't wait for somebody else to do it for you. Nor can you ride on the coat strings of somebody else. You have to have your own personal revelation, and you have to say yes sometimes, even before you know how things are going to happen.
Exactly.
You know, some people say, look before you leap. I've taught before, sometimes you got to leap before you look. You know what I mean? You have to sometimes leap, say yes, and then by law, the safety net comes. But if you're stagnating and waiting for somebody else to give you permission, you'll be stagnating the rest of your life, waiting for somebody to like you or to approve of you, or because most people, you know, once you try to go for excellence, mediocrity comes up to attack you.
Yes.
And so, you know, you can always tell if somebody's rising because they got a lot of haters. You know?
Yes.
You know, they say, oh, what's she trying to do now?
Exactly.
What is he doing now? He's creating another formula? Oh my God. You know, and, you know, so everybody who has said yes to themselves has encountered the turbulence of mediocrity or people trying to keep them small. Now, when you were a young pup and you were coming into the understanding of metaphysics and coming into the understanding of being herbalist, so first of all, you're standing on the shoulders of your ancestors because you come from a line of healers. Talk to us about that for a moment, but then I want you to answer the question, you know, what did you have to overcome in yourself to finally just say, yeah, I'm going for this, even though there may have been some pushback, either from yourself or from the world?
Well, first, I'd like to go for the first part. I thought at first that, you know, I was the only one in my family that was into this healing thing. And then I began to look at my mother, and I realized that she was the healer for her whole family. I mean, she was the oldest of 19 children, you know what I'm saying? And she had to be the teacher. She had to be the second mother for her whole family. She was making, you know, concoctions on the stove. I mean, you know, back in the day, they didn't have the, you know, the healthcare plan where you could run down to the emergency room because, you know, you had a swollen ankle, you know. So my mother instilled that in me at a young age by always saying, well, you know, it's going to be okay. You know, you got to trust yourself and focus on what you desire. Don't focus on the pain. You know, drink this, drink some of that. You know what I'm saying? So, and my mother would sing, you know what I'm saying? You'd be, you know, you'd be like half here and half there. You got 3 fevers, you're running to the bathroom, and she would just start singing to you. And
Wow.
Just the singing would change everything. It would change the vibration, you know, her tone, her frequency. But, you know, she always had a magical thing with numbers and dreams, and folks would come to her to hit the lottery. You know what I'm saying? So I was born into that, but I didn't know this when I went to see my uncle down in Florida, my Uncle Donald. And, you know, I hadn't seen him in maybe 20 years, and we're sitting there, and he's got aloe vera growing all in the yard. And I'm like, what's all those plants? He says, aloe vera. I'm the aloe vera man. I said, what do you mean you're the aloe vera man? He says, I hope you don't think that you're the first one in this family to know about herbs and healing. I said, what are you talking about? He says, your grandfather was a great herbalist. Whenever we rode from Georgia up to Connecticut, when anybody who came, he would tell you which plants to find along the roads, and he would always tell you to stop at railroad tracks because special plants grew at railroad tracks. I said, what do you mean? I didn't know this. He says, there's a lot you don't know. This has been in your family forever. This is how we made it. This is the only thing we had. We, you know, growing up as 19 children, well, you have 19 health plans. I mean, what do? They had a garden, they had a farm, they had their own food, you know, growing. And so I was born into this. Even my father, you know, he was into engineering. He was in the Navy, he was in engineering. So he was all about numbers, mathematics. So that led me into blending the spirituality and the herbs and the quantum physics. Because he always talked about spooky action at a distance. And you just can't measure that line based on your eye. You need to get a square and a level and put it on the wall. He said, otherwise you'll have this spooky action at a distance. I'm like, the heck is spooky action at a distance? Then I find out later, oh, this is quantum physics. That everything is, all things that have a similar vibration are glued together through the gluon state. This magnetic energy, which I call love. So yeah. I was able to blend these things together. And I'm like, and then growing up as a musician, it was all about rhythm. And I learned, you know, I was a conga drummer for most of my life. And I learned from these guys from the continent who were serious. And it wasn't about playing for dancing, you know, for a party, playing R&B. They were into it for spiritual reasons and also for healing. If somebody was sick, they would bring them in the village and put them in the middle, and everybody would play certain rhythms, because those rhythms and those sounds, those frequencies vibrate through every cell of your body. And basically, we're living in an orchestra. We're part of an orchestra, or an orchestra, as I call it. You know, and you know, what part are you playing as a musician? You're a musician, so we're all musicians. And what song are you singing? Based on what you're saying, what you're thinking, and how you're acting, that's your song.
Right.
So,
right.
You had a second part of that question.
Yeah, the second part of the question is, you know, everyone has their journey to their own becoming. You know, what is a part of your journey? What did you have to overcome in order to step into, like, I know who you are now. I know that you were a musician. I know you even did some music recently for a good friend of ours, you know, and Kev Mo, you know, yes. And Grammy awarding Kev Mo. And you've done some very powerful, you embedded, you know how to embed music into things, yeah. and create that healing rhythm. So I know about your musicianship. I know about your herbology. I know about your metaphysics, you know, and you grew up in this. It was embedded in even in your genes. But what did you have to overcome within yourself to finally just say, yes, I'm going to be all of this?
Well, I had to overcome the talk that people have. This, you know, I grew up in, a lot of my family was very religious. And, you know, if you made somebody a tea and they got better, they'd start looking at you funny. Well, what was that? What did you give them? You know what I'm saying? They're doing better now. It's almost like it was a lot of fear-based, you know, belief systems that I grew up in and around. And I had to break free from that and realize that everything, you know, I was in Sunday school one time and the teacher said that God was everything. I'll never forget this. And I never, you know, I was always in the back of the Sunday school eating cookies that I had, you know, I snuck into my pocket, you know. I'd get the lint off them and eat them because I wasn't, you know, they weren't connecting with me until right. The Sunday school teacher says, God is everything. I said, huh? God is everything? So I raised my hand. I said, well, if God is everything, why do we have to study? Why do we have to do all these things? Why can't I go play? I saw grasshoppers when I was coming in here today. I wanted to play with them. And, you know, basically they told my mother I couldn't come back because, you know, I was on some other stuff and, you know, I wasn't reading my Bible quotes correctly because they said I had dyslexia. See, when I was young, they said I had dyslexia. They said I was special, which in those days was kind of, you're a little retarded. You know, because I used to get F's.
I remember that. I remember that word. I mean, we don't use that word anymore.
We don't use it now.
But that was the word they used back in the day.
That was what they used. You know, he's retarded. You know, he can't remember. He sees things backwards, and he's staring out the window at the bees and the flowers when he should be studying his math. Right. You know, and it's interesting that, you know, they brought psychiatrists to see me and all this stuff because I had a learning disability. Right. And those words in my head, they played with me so much that I wasn't going to be able to go to college. They always talked about what I wasn't going to be able to do. And right. I noticed that the language of most people back in the day was about problems. It was about problems. It was very seldom about solutions or you being special or you having special powers. They didn't talk about that. You were either right or you're wrong. And, you know, either you march along with everybody else. And, you know, when I used to get those F's, I'd come home with an F and I'd throw my report card down. My father would be going crazy. I said, what's wrong, Dad? He said, you got an F, you're failing. I said, I thought that meant fine. I was doing really good. You know, so I changed the letters around. I said, you know, they're not teaching me anything. I'm learning nature. You know, I'm learning more in music. I'm not go to college for what? And I remember, you know, another one of my challenges was I decided to go to college for my father. And we're always attempting to do things that make other people happy.
Right.
So I went to the Ward School of Technology, like my brother, the best electronics school in the world. And I was there for 2.5 weeks. Yeah. And then George Clinton came down. George Clinton's birthday is the same as yours. I think his is today. Yeah, I think both of you are either today or tomorrow or yesterday. So George Clinton comes to town. These guys are wearing weird outfits and talking deep metaphysical stuff. He's landing in UFOs and on the stage. And I left college. This is 2.5 weeks. I left college and went and hung out with George Clinton and them for like, you know, off and on for a year. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I was learning something. You know what I'm saying? Right, the mothership that's in each of us. You know, we are the mothership and on the mothership. And it's not about what's outside of you. It's about what's inside you. So my challenge was always moving away from the talk that people have. And you know what's interesting? When I grew up, it was all about Walter Cronkite. Walter Cronkite's on the news. When Walter Cronkite came on the news, man, it was deep because everybody's focused on this guy. And I remember I walked in a room one day, everybody's really serious and quiet, and he's supposed to be in Vietnam, right? Then he says, he's in Vietnam right now, and I'm here, and you are there too. You know, he had this whole thing. And I said, well, Dad, I said, how hot is it in Vietnam? There's palm trees blowing. He says, well, it's about, you know, it's about 120 degrees. I said, why does he have on a trench coat that you only wear in the winter? It's not raining, and it's buttoned all the way up. Wouldn't he be really hot? My father says, you know, I'm tired of this foolishness. Go in there and do your homework and study something that makes some sense. But I was looking at things saying that, you know, there is a set of principles that are set up for you, right? That you're supposed to go along like, you know, you're a sheep on a farm. You got to stay on the farm, you know. But then there's the black sheep, because they called me the black sheep. And I had issues with being called the black sheep. And I said, well, what's wrong with the black sheep? So I started studying the black sheep, and he was always the one jumping over the fence. You know what I'm saying? He would leave. He'd come back, say, hey, you guys want to come with me? And they'd be scared. So they'd stay waiting for the farmer. The black sheep was the only one that could go survive on its own and find food. The regular sheep were so domesticated, they couldn't even, unless the farmer gave them something, they couldn't survive. So I had to break free from the language, the word, the organizations that were set up for us, and the letters, and you got to get an A, and if you don't get an A, and if you don't get this, and this, you know, this is not good enough. Breaking free from the language, and also breaking free from trying to make people happy.
Yes, that's a big one right there. That's a big one right there.
Man,
people
I hit that one. I said, I'm going to stop trying to make people happy. I'm going to find joy within myself, because that happiness, I realize, is fleeting anyway. They're happy for a few minutes, and then 10 minutes later, something happens and they're upset again. So I made them happy for a little bit, but now they say, well, what about the next thing? What about this? What are you going to do about that? You just can't keep playing those drums. Well, you're going to grow up to be a drummer. Drummers don't make any money. And I'm like, wait, I know some drummers who are multimillionaires. What are you talking about? So art and all those things was my love. And I had to break free from all of that stuff, that glue that had me stuck in a corner. And I had to be the black sheep and grow and expand and do what was coming to me naturally. Because I realized one day that the universe was talking directly to me. Those were not just voices in my head. That was me talking to me from me, and I'm part of everything, and God is everything. So let's do this.
You went right back to your Sunday school teacher saying God is everything. And plus black represents the field of infinite potential, the unmanifest, undifferentiated, infinite potential before the manifestation even occurs. So, you know, so the black sheep is representing outside of the present paradigm, outside of the present point of view, outside of the known, of which people are really afraid of. They're afraid of the unknown because there's potential there that we cannot even touch if we stay within the boundaries and the borders of the status quo. This is what you're talking about. So you had to break free from the talk, which brings us right into the whole metaphysics of how people talk to themselves, what they're listening to, how what they say to themselves has and shifts their perception. So you had to break free from all of the religiosity and all of the parental paradigm, even though your parents loved you and they wanted the best for you.
Yes.
You know, they're very happy, you know, when they look upon you now, they're very happy with you now because you did it your way.
Yes.
Your own unique way that you can do it, you see. Now, there's something else I want to tie in, and that is your mother was singing. Your mother was singing. And you infuse your herbs with certain vibrations.
Yes.
So when your mother was singing, and on your way to the bathroom to vomit or whatever was happening, and you had a fever, your mother was lifting the vibration through song, and you seem to have brought that frequency, that dynamic, into your herbal concoctions. Tell me about that.
Well, I was in the studio one day, and as a conga drummer, my thing was I wanted to play melodies. I just didn't want to play rhythms. I'd have 4 drums, and they'd have to be tuned, and I would tune them to the piano. And I was tuning my drums one day, and I realized when they're tuned perfectly to the piano, they don't sound good. But when I tune them to what I just feel, and they resonate the room a special way, that's not on the piano. So I wanted to know what those notes were. So there was a guy there who was a piano tuner who had this device. And I said, what is the frequency of this note that I'm playing on this drum? And he said, oh, well, that's A432. I says, what is that? He said, well, it's a weird frequency that we no longer use anymore because, we tune everything to 440. I said, well, why do we tune it to 440? And he says, I don't know. It's the new law and blah, blah, blah. Started in 1957, the year that I was supposed to be born. And I said, well, so this makes my drums don't sound good. So I started studying sound and vibration and learning why certain instruments were structured and tuned the way they were. And I realized, I said, wait a minute, this is about getting the people this is social conditioning to get people used to hearing tones that actually aren't totally natural. I don't care what you're listening to. If it's tuned to what they call A440, it's tempered. It has energy in it that actually fractures your energy field. You're not at your best potential. I'm not saying the song doesn't sound good, but if you heard that same song toned down a little bit to this A432, which is one of the harmonics of the earth. Right. It's the frequency of love. It's the frequency of peace and harmony. And when you hear it, it changes everything. In fact, with 440, I found that when you're listening to it, you're feeling it first, hearing it second. With the music we listen to today, we're hearing first, and then it's a funny feeling inside. It's really not congruent. It's creating a type of cognitive dissonance, actually. Yes. And we don't realize it.
Yes.
You see, so I was like, wait a minute. So, later on when I became an herbalist, and I became an herbalist because the music industry made me, what I shouldn't say, let me cancel that. I allowed the music industry to cause illness within me. Yeah. Take the power back. They didn't make me sick. I allowed it by eating those foods, hanging out with those people, and doing all the things that you had to do to be big time, So when I became ill, I had to heal myself. So I had to walk away from the music industry. And I traveled and traveled and traveled until I began to look at the plants. And I studied with all these herbalists and these drummers that were eating these herbs and drinking these teas in the forest. And I began to realize that the plants all have a vibration. I started looking at the plants and they would make a sound. I could look at it. I could see music because I smell music. I actually taste sound. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I actually, my senses are all, as they said, I was growing up that I was dyslexic. I said, yeah, I am.
You were gifted. You were gifted because you could see with your ears and hear with your eyes.
With my eyes, exactly.
That's gifted.
And I didn't want to tell anybody because they would say I was crazy. So when I was making these records in the studio, and it was hit after hit, and they were like, "How are you doing this?" I said, "Because I wanted to tell them." I said, "No, let me not tell them. Let's just keep that quiet because they're always going to look at you funny." But I realized one day that all of nature is musical. So when I started looking at this music that I was making and I was tasting the herbs, I realized there's frequencies here. How can I blend sound and frequency into the herbal concoctions? I asked everybody. Everybody was like, well, you can't do it. I said, well, sound travels better through liquid than it does through air. You can hear, like if you bang some rocks together under the water, that travels for miles. I mean, dolphins get into this place in between the hot water, the warm water and the cold water, right? It's called the sound channel. The dolphins get there and can communicate with every dolphin on the planet. Right. Instantaneously. So I said, well, since water, right? Water has memory, water has vibration, water is alive, it's a liquid living crystal. Yep. Let's put those frequencies into the herbal concoctions. And I started playing around with these magnets and this copper wire and wrapping this stuff. I get into these places where I'm just crazy for like 6 months and nobody can talk to me. And I hit it. One day I realized how to do it using crystals and all these things. And at that point, I was able to take the frequency, the sound, the music that I loved, and put it into each of the concoctions. They're songs.
Right.
They're all songs because your body is a vibrational thing.
What song is this singing?
That song is the song that says love, peace, and harmony. Actually, there's a note that's in that. That note in there is 528 hertz.
Mm-hmm.
528 hertz. When I was, they asked me to teach at UCLA. I taught at UCLA for 4 years. It was really strange. I said, I quit college and you're asking me to come teach. And I wanted to teach health, but they said, no, you got to teach music. And if you want to sneak some of that health stuff in, you can. Because I saw so many people in the music industry getting ill. So I said, let's talk about food. So I had to sneak it in. But I was down in the lab one day with this, I'd walk into the biomedical labs and all that. And they thought I was a doctor. They figured I was Dr. B. They didn't understand it was Doctah. So they all loved me because I had jokes and stories, and they'd come hang out in my class, and I'd be talking about metaphysics and music. So I asked the scientist one day, and I was like, how is it? I said, what do you guys know for a fact? And he says, what do you mean? He says, we don't know anything for a fact. I said, you don't know anything for a fact? He says, nothing. Everything is a theory. We don't understand gravity. We have theories. We don't understand fire. We don't understand how the sun keeps, burning every day. And I realized, I says, this is deep. They don't know. So why can't I create something that I feel that's my truth? You see? And that's when I realized that we are the beginning. We are the new life. We are the essence of everything. When we focus on what it is we desire, we create it.
Yes.
So if you focus on how bad it is in the world, I keep hearing about how bad it is. It's never been so bad. I said, well, I grew up in the 60s, and I don't think it's quite as bad as what I remember, because it was crazy growing up in Connecticut in the 60s. I don't want to get into that because that brings the past. But it's your point of view. It's your perception, and it's the triggers and the filters that you had growing up and the language that you use. So, I was teaching this course, Change Your Language, Change Your Life. In fact, I taught it at Agape one time.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes. And it was a beautiful thing. You're speaking your words, right? Most of your words, we're using it in a way that actually work against us. That's why people are wanting all the time. Want. It's like an airplane crashing instead of desiring or focusing on or living in or creating. So language has a lot to do with it. But that frequency, 528, when I was in the lab, the scientists had this speaker over this beaker, it was like a little beaker with this fluid in it. I said, what is that? What's that tone? He says, well, we're emitting this frequency 528 into that solution. So what is that solution? He says, it's living cells. I said, what are you doing? He says, well, we found that 528 repairs DNA. It helps to repair the telomeres. I didn't even know what a telomere was. What is a telomere?
That's what you say right here on this bottle.
And it's the frequencies. But in order to hold the frequency, you got to have gold, you got to have iridium, you have to have platinum, palladium, humic acid, fulvic acid, and there's 5 plants that all work together to create this vibration that the 528 frequency can hold. It actually repairs DNA. There's genes that repair broken genes if they get the right frequency.
Right. So listen, I'm still drawing a line from you as a little boy and your mother singing, and you going all the way to UCLA looking at 528 and putting that frequency into your herbal remedies. That was, your mother was doing the same thing.
Yes.
She was hitting a tone. Everybody, because some people would be like worried and fretting, oh my God, my boy's sick. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. He's got a fever. But your mother would be making a concoction and singing. And so now people come to you and you give them a singing herb, a vibrational herb, because of the fact that you overcame the voices inside and outside.
Yes.
That said, you can't do this. You got to do it in this straight line and in this box. At Agape, I like to say, we give people a small box vaccine. Talk about a vaccine. We give you a small box vaccine.
Yes.
So if you break out of the box and become a great version of yourself. Now, I want to do 2 things. I want people to know, what are you up to next? Do you have anything that people should know about that they'd be interested in? What's your website? Because a part of my thing with you always is, I want people to know who you are. I don't want this to be one of the best kept secrets for people who know about you. I want folks to know that who you are and how to get your stuff.
Well, first of all, my our website is not mine. You know, I'm getting to the point where I'm we're ceasing using the word my.
Listen, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I did a spiritual fast one time and didn't use the word me or mine until it didn't become, it wasn't a part of my thing. You know, even though I have to say my at times, we don't get crazy with it. But in terms of belonging and owning and allowing the ego to take it, you train yourself to be our, we. Yeah, I'm with you, brother.
And it changes your energy field also, because it's not just you. So our website is elevationtime.com. Elevation Time, Time, elevationtime.com. And there you can go and, you know, we have videos and interviews that I've done, radio interviews over the many years, and there's education. There's a lot of stuff that you can just, you know, that's going to spark certain things in you. And I also have a course, you know, Life Transformation System 1 course, which is a 9-hour course. And it's not just what I'm teaching in the course. I'm using frequencies and sound and music and everything in the course. And I'm moving because, you know, you remember when I was studying NLP and all that stuff.
Right.
I began to put that into the way we teach, the way the eyes move, you know what I'm saying? The way the body moves. And I'm actually using the NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I'm also using the psychological kinesiology techniques in the class. So you're getting a subconscious alignment just by taking the class. When people switch, they say, oh my God, something happened. I was just listening to you. It's because it's not just what a person is saying, it's what they're implying, what they're feeling, and what they're thinking, and what's going on around them. Everything I do is music. Everything, even no matter what I do, it has to be music. It's got to be a rhythm. You know, if it doesn't have a rhythm, I can't. There's no way in the world I could be involved with it. So
absolutely.
At Elevation Time, we have a course. We have the product there that you were talking about. There's 2 versions of that, by the way. There's only one that, you know, we'll talk about that later, you and I. But right now, it's the Platinum Life Elixir Gregory Reserve. And
that's Dick Gregory, by the way, everyone.
Yes, Dick Gregory. When Dick Gregory said I couldn't put his name on it, he says only over my dead body. And I remember I went to his memorial, and he was, you know, he had his baseball cap on, and he's laying in the casket, or, you know, his earth suit was laying in the casket, and he's smiling. And it's almost like he said, now you can put my name on it. And that's when we put out the product that was called the Gregory Reserve. We have a different version, which is not on the website right now because we're working out something between us, which was actually called the Beckwith Reserve. That one, I remember I came to one of your events, and you came over to my table, and you said, what's that? I said, you know, you said, well, give me some. And I handed it to you, opened up, and he drinks half the bottle. I'm like, whoa, you're only supposed to drink like a dropper. That's monoatomic gold and platinum and these noble elements. You just can't. And he walks away. And I remember you were in the room speaking, and people were screaming. And some lady came out and said, he's levitating. Michael Beckwith is levitating. What's he on? Right? And you came out, and I'll never forget this. You came out to the table, and you said, where's the rest of that stuff? I said, well, the people are screaming. Who's in there? I said, you said, I'm in there. I said, how are you in there and out here too? He says, you should be able to tell me that. It's your stuff. Right? I'll never forget that. And afterwards, you know, our table was just, people rushed us to get that product. But we every product that we've created has been basically for something we were dealing with in our family. Most of the products that I created originally for me and my mother, because my mother had MS, because I think she had so many fillings in her teeth. You know, those mercury fillings. So they kept calling it MS. I kept saying it's mercury toxicity. They told me to get out. He's crazy. You know, but anyway, that's another story. So there's several products that we created, you know, for the family. You know, Dr. B never was trying to go in business with this. It was like, you know, and it was Stevie Wonder and Carl Nelson, you know, those guys over at KGLH that's like, you got to go on the radio. You got to talk about this, and people need your products. I said, I don't have products. I just like to teach. So I created these products because it was a demand. The people said, you just can't talk about this stuff and not give it to us. We can't find what you have in a health food store. It's not high end. It's not boutique, you know. So a lot of those products are available. My specialty is the parasite cleanse.
Yeah, and I've done that. I've done that.
Yes, you have.
On more than one occasion, and it's easy to do. Everything tastes good. uh, and I'm going to start one with you at the end of July.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just keeping that body temple clean. And I understand what you mean about demand, because I can remember when I was teaching, and I remember a lady, Patty Ballard, came up to me and her daughter, Candace, and they were saying, when you open a community, we're going to be there with you. We're going to write big. I said, I'm not opening up any community. I'm doing my privates. I'm teaching. I'm speaking at the university. I said, I'm not starting a community. Oh, no. And she just smiled at me and said, oh, yeah, you're going to start a community. I said, oh, no, Patty, I'm not going to do that. But the demand from the universe and from my students became so great that I had to capitulate and say, yes, I'm going to start a community. But I understand the demand coming, and then you can't deny it. That's what we mean by saying yes to ourselves. At some point, we have to get over ourselves and say yes to ourselves for the reason that we've come to the planet, because that is what creates the perpetual happiness. When you're in your gifted area, you're sharing, you're shining, you're radiating, you're giving, you're generous, all of that, regardless of what's happening in the world, regardless of circumstances, situations, you're still in your happy zone.
Yes.
Because you're giving your gift. You see? You're sharing. You're not trying to get something to be happy. You're giving something to be happy.
Yes.
And this is why every time I see you, we're always laughing and having a great time, because we're in our flow. Yeah.
I went to go see T. Harv Edgar one time in L.A.
Yeah.
And, The Millionaire Mind.
Right.
He's sipping his tea, right? There's 3,000 people there, and he's talking, and he talks for a few minutes. And the people say, somebody says, well, do you have anything you're selling? He says, well, no, and I know most of you said you don't have any money earlier, and most of you are broke, so we're not trying to sell anything. He says, no, I think they might have something over the table over there. But anyway, go take a break and come back. People would jump up and run and attack the people at the table to buy and he did this. He started off with a book that was like, what, $14? And by the end of the day, he's selling these programs that are like $10,000, but he's not selling them. He's just implying that it is available. Right. And a lot of times what is available to you, you don't realize until you get into yourself and look. Most of what people need is right around them. Right. I remember one of my teachers, Dr. Kwaku Ando, one of the great, botanists and Dogon priest. He says, Dr. B, you're going to find most people, what they actually desire and need is right around them. Yes. But they're blind to it. They can't see it. You see? Right. So it's pure metaphysics. Pure metaphysics and everything. He also told me, he says, whenever you move, Dr. B, because I always have plants growing wherever I am. A lot of the plants, I grow my own, a lot of stuff. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And he says, whenever you move, don't worry. The plants that you need for your formulas will pop up. Right. Every time I move, I look the yard and there's nothing growing. Within 3 months, here we go. There's shiitake mushrooms are growing, and there's 5-leaf all of a sudden is popping up, and you know what I'm saying? All this stuff is popping up in the yard because when you put your feet on the ground and say, yes, I'm here. Yes. The universe responds to you. Yes. You have to be open. You have to give yourself permission to just be. But a lot of times we're trying too hard to be something else when you are already something naturally. Right. You don't have to rehearse to be yourself. Exactly. You just have to say yes to yourself. Now, I just want to say thank you for stopping by. Any last words? Because I know if they go to the website, they'll see all the formulations you have. Because you have a good one. I think it's called the X Factor. That's for immunity. I think right now people are they're nervous about their immune system. They don't. Some people have been hijacked into thinking that their immune system can't handle the issues in the world. Exactly. But, they've been lied to, and you have a wonderful formula that actually augments and strengthens and balances the immune system. It's called the X Factor, right? Yes, and it's a natural antiviral. It works by sending frequencies to the body to get your genes to your body to turn on the fighters. You know what I'm saying? The things that in your body that are going to go out and destroy something that shouldn't be there, or something that's creating a frequency that's causing illness. So there's X Factor, and then we have a very special vitamin C. We have the only actual vitamin C tonic that we've ever seen. See, vitamin C usually is not a tonic. A tonic or an adaptogen is a substance that adapts to the environment. So the average vitamin C is ascorbic acid. It's actually doing the opposite of what you think it's supposed to be doing, because the acid is burning your cells up.
Right.
It's not protecting your cells because it's ascorbic acid, but that's the cheap vitamin C you get at the store for $5.99.
Right.
You know, so there are different types of vitamin C, which are from berries and fruits and things like that. Like the camu camu berry has one of the highest amounts of natural vitamin C, and it's alkaline. And the baobab tree from the continent of Africa. These are very high vibrational things that we use that make a alkaline vitamin C tonic. So we have that on the site. And for everybody listening, if you're interested, put the discount coupon code in July. You know, up until Sunday, there will be a code July, and you'll get 20% off just for being a part of this program, you know, as a gift to everyone right now, July, because right now is the time.
My birthday month. We're giving it in honor of the birthday.
Of the birthday month. And we're in that Lion's Gate, which, you know, because Sirius, our spiritual sun, and our sun, Solaris, are lined up, it is boosting everything. Everything that you do right now is like, if you're speaking agreeable and you're speaking in love and you're acting in love, it actually augments it like a quantum leap. Whatever you're doing, thinking, and feeling this time of year, it is augmented because the vibration is higher. You see? So this is what they call the Lion's Gate up until August the 8th. So if you're healing, if you're cleansing, whatever you're doing, you're going to get a boost, a natural boost, because your cells, your genes, everything in you is vibrating at a higher level. So be careful what you say and who you hang out with.
That's right.
Learn how to make love out of the things that are not love in your life. Find out what's not love and do the alchemy. You can do it. We all have it because we're all made of the same stardust and the same quantum.
We're a master alchemist.
Yes,
so I thank you, brother, for being with me today. You know, we're getting so many texts, people saying to keep this on the, you know, on my page. It'll be up. We're not taking it down. You can come back and listen to our conversation. I'm never taking it down, so it will be up. Somebody's writing in and saying, can you do this again, please? The answer is yes, because every time I get on with my brother here, it just goes on and on and on. He can talk forever. I can talk forever. And I love what comes out of him. So yeah, he'll be back on soon. And we'll continue this dialogue because we're just scratching the surface.
Yes.
On so many things. But I wanted to, you know, keep these brief. We went 45 minutes. We were only supposed to go 25. So we allowed it to flow. I wasn't going to quench the spirit at all. And obviously, remember, this is an honor. So we just want to thank all of you for tuning in with me and Dr. B. Sirius on embracing your sacred yes. And you can hear it in his vibration that he lives in the yes factor. Dr. B, you live in the yes factor. I appreciate you, brother. We'll talk soon. God bless you, man.
Thank you very much. Travel light. Much love.
I'm going to do it. We'll talk soon. Okay, everybody. Have a bright day.